you getting some looks at some younger guys here the last couple of games in there, especially with Wood down in Florida. What have you seen from those guys? And
I've been encouraged by Malachi Wood really since I've been here. He has the prototype body that you want at offensive tackle. He's athletic, he can move his feet, he has length. He's a student of the game. He's a young player, obviously in the program, but he's the typical story of a guy coming in your program and given the opportunity to develop. In my experience doing this for obviously a long time, it takes about 2 years to develop most guys to get them ready to play at this level in this league. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about other leagues. I'm talking about the SEC. When you're matched up against the defensive lineman you have to block, it takes about 2 years so you can get them mentally and physically developed so they can compete at this level. And he's probably a little bit ahead of schedule, but I think the guy's got a chance to have a bright future.
I was going to ask, physically, are you a little surprised that he's made this much development from coming out of high school? A lot of people thought maybe a 2 or 3 year type deal.
Yeah, that's probably typical of 2 years. I always give guys 2 years. See if you can get it done in 2 years, and that's a compliment to him. Mm-hmm. That's a compliment to Mark Stoops' program. That's a compliment to our weight room. That's a compliment to our nutritionists. I mean, there's a whole process that goes in place so that way you can physically develop. The mental part of it, the fundamentals, that's obviously my role. But then there's another role with all the other things, the things you need to do. And I can tell you, since I've been here, that's probably been a little bit of a learning process of him and I have come into an understanding about what the expectations are as far as eating the right things, proper amounts of protein, sleep, doing the extra things you need to do so you can become a good football player.
We're just past the halfway point of the season. How would you kind of assess how your units played?
I think we've done some decent things in a run game. I think there's some plays there, that could be better, a little bit better, but I think we're doing some decent things in a run game. Pass protection at times recently, it's been better. We had the holding calls, obviously, a couple weeks ago there, just improper hand placement and getting beat with our feet and those type of things. But we constantly are striving to improve on a consistent basis. Pass blocking is something that takes a little bit of time. You have to also have athleticism. You have to have speed. You have to have quickness. You have to be able to move your feet. You have to understand angles and those type of things. And that's part of this league. There's a reason why tackles are a premium at this level and in the National Football League. They're hard to find, and that's what we're constantly striving to do is get these guys better and continue to find guys that can play tackle.
Projection is such a big thing with that spot. He's a guy clearly was kind of projected. We think he can look like this and be a long, athletic guy.
No doubt. It was a great job by our recruiting staff. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the guy, that's what tackles are supposed to look like, right? And that's what you want. You want to have about 6 or 8 of those guys standing around, though, just at different years. And, everybody plays tackle in high school because they're usually the best player on their team. But some of those guys project inside strictly because of arm length. But, we've got some guys coming in that, we play tackle. And, whenever we have got enough guys here that if they are not in the rotation at tackle, they can always move the guard. And then you got yourself a really athletic long guard.
What about the reps that Selm has got?
He hasn't, got as many here recently. I can tell you this, he's ready. I feel good about him. I'm excited about his progress. He just got here in January. So he's a little bit he's not as far along, I should say, as far as being in a program as Malachi is. But I am really encouraged by Abba, a student of the game. He works hard, lifts weights 4 times a week. I mean, he's in there getting extra. He does the things he needs to do to be a good player. And Dylan Ray has come on and done some good things, or he could be getting some reps in there. But I hope to, here in the near future, be able to start getting him some reps too. But I want to keep it within the 4-game stretch. So that way I can, obviously still have an extra year with him.
How big is it just to bring along those guys from the high school ranks when you're at a position that it takes a while for the cake to bake?
I said this earlier, and at the end of the day, I feel like, in my experience, it takes about 2 years to develop a high school offensive lineman to get him ready to play at this level in this league. I've been other places in other leagues where maybe a guy after a redshirt year they can get themselves ready to play and compete at that level. But when you look at the level of talent on the defensive line across the board in the league, you're facing most guys in this league are going to be probably drafted in the first 4 rounds that you're going to play against. Let's just call it the way it is, right? So you got to get a guy within 2 years, hopefully ready to compete with a guy that could be a senior or a junior that's being projected as a first, second, third rounder. It's very common on every football team.